Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with video number 3 in our Merry Making Marathon, where we are mass producing unique cards using sketches. So here is a look at the card we'll be making today. Such a fun, happy card to create. I love these little Christmas critters. And this is the sketch that we're using. So in this original sketch, there is a shiplap die cut from Penny Black, and then on top I've layered another die cut. So I've kind of concentrated all of the elements towards the center of the card on that shiplap panel. Today I'm going to use different panels. I'm going to use a stacker die for my main panel and also our elegant frames with that. So this sketch came from my 2023 ebook Stash Busting Card Sketches. I'll link that for you down below. I'll also link all of the videos that go with that. So if you're looking for more inspiration with this sketch or others, I'll link those for you down below. So to begin, I'm going to go ahead and paint in my image. So I've pre-stamped this using Memento Toffee Crunch ink onto Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. Again, I'm going to list all the supplies, everything I'm using for you down in that YouTube description box below. And then I'm going to paint this in using our Penny Black liquid watercolor ink. So I've picked out my colors and I'm going to use light gray, polished, sky, cardinal, and grass. So just 5 colors to paint in this little cutie, this bunny. And I'm just putting a dot of those onto my palette. If you want to know more about our watercolor inks, I have a video linked down below that tells you all about them. But they are so perfect for painting in any stamped image, but great for these Christmas images as well. And I'm going to use our brush set to paint in this bunny, but it's going to be very simple to do. Now at the beginning I used a waterproof pen, a PITT Artist pen extra small, just to darken, trace over the eyes and the mouth. I feel like that gives the image a more completed look when it's stamped in this Toffee Crunch ink. And now I'm just pulling in that light gray and painting in the ears. Just seriously just picking up the paint and painting it in, keeping it very, very simple. I'm picking up the light gray and where I want it to be the darkest, I am putting the most concentrated color there. If I want to blend that, I just rinse off my brush and pat it dry and go back and blend, just as I'm doing here on that foot. But the images are so cute. The more simple I think that you're coloring, whether you're doing Copics or colored pencils or watercolors, it just allows the cuteness to shine. You don't need to get too detailed. Now I am using our polished to get the ears and the cheeks a little bit, just to add a little bit of blush and some pink there, and I will go ahead and dry that so I can move on to the other areas. Now something that I really love about these paints by Penny Black is that the colors are formulated to be practical, that you can have the colors that you need for a bunny, for a bird, for greenery, whatever you are painting, it's going to be there. And one thing I especially love is that the light colors are beautiful. So I'm picking up like that light gray is just enough without being too much or being practically invisible. Same thing here with this sky color that I am using on sort of the white areas of the bunny. Didn't want them just to look like I forgot to color them. I also feel like pulling in that touch of blue just freshens everything up, and so I painted that on. Now this is the grass color and I'm just going to paint in her little present, and this way I can get in some red and green and get that Christmas feeling. So I'll dry that and then I will grab our cardinal paint, and so I will then just paint in, picking it up from the palette, putting it where I want it to be the darkest, and then just painting that, rinsing off my brush, patting it dry, and then mostly dry, it's still a little damp, and then going back and blending that with water. And a tip I would give you too is, like I said, you can just color these in really, and if you want to just solidly color them in, they're going to be as cute. And if you want to do that, just stamp them in like a charcoal color or a black color. And another tip is, don't feel like you have to do blending or shading. If you want to do that, do it on just one part. So I did a little bit more blending and shading on her little jacket with the red than I did with the blues and the grays. And that adds just enough shading to make it fun and interesting to look at without having to do it on any other parts. So that's a time saver too if you're making a lot of cards. Maybe you're mass producing one card several times. That will save you on your painting time. So she is complete, so I cut her out with the cutout die, and now I'm going to start working on that panel. So remember, the original sketch had a shiplap panel in the background. I went to my stash of penny black dies and pulled out my semicircle stackers to sort of create that center panel, and I'm inking that up using Salty Ocean Distress ink, using an ink blending tool and a foam pad, starting off of the edge and working my way on in a circular motion. And I'm just going to add a little bit darker color here on top. And again, all of the colors will be listed for you down in the YouTube description box below. Next, I have these die cut trees. These are the tall trees. And again, if you think back to that original sketch, there was that center panel and then a die cut on top. So this is where I'm pulling in some scenic die cuts to go with the bunny. So I'm just using my ink blending tool and a foam pad and distress ink and peeled paint just to get the tops of both of these. And then I want to darken them up a little bit, so I'm grabbing the forest moss, and I will actually come back and make one of them much darker than the other, so there's a little more contrast, but you'll see that in a second. I grabbed a Tombow dual brush pen just to color the bottom. You could ink that. I just thought it was easier to do it with the marker, and it was handy. And here's where I decided I think I'm just going to make one dark tree and one light tree, so I went over this one with the forest moss, and then you can see that difference between the two. Just adds a little bit of interest. I love sort of taking a scene like this, hinting at it with some die cut scenery, putting a critter with it, and compacting it down towards that center panel. It just makes it easier to design, and it's just really striking, I think, when it's done in that simple way. Now this is part of our new Elegant Frames die, and I'm going to glue this right on top of that semicircle stackers. They fit perfectly. I think they look so nice. You get this white on white texture, and because we're just working on that centralized location, this can actually be kind of busy. You can layer up lots of different elements on there because the rest of the space of the card outside of it is just going to be the card. It's just going to be very simple. Now these little pieces are also part of that Elegant Frames die, and I'm just going to put them here on the corners. Now if you go to our blog, and I will link that for you down below to the exact post, I will show all of the cards that I've made with this die and that are in this video, and I will list and link all of the products used on each one, and you'll see that there are lots of different ways you can use this Elegant Frames die. I'm just only using one little part of it, but it works so great on this semicircle stacker die. So let's start assembling our scene. So I'm going to put down the trees. And I have some foam tape on this one, and I'll put glue just down at the bottom of the trunk. I did stamp my sentiment. And I find this is such a fun way, again, to mass produce lots of cards using the sketch without getting bored. So I am using lots of different images. I'll show you with this sketch that I do some elegant cards as well, and some critters, and even pull in a totally different frame set. So stay tuned till the end, and I'll show you lots and lots of ideas for this sketch. Now I added some little die cut snowflakes, and then I am going to just add some pearls to those. Again, this is all compressed into the center image, so you can put lots of stuff on here without the card looking too busy or even tacky. It's just going to look nice. So I'm going to pop this up onto that plane. This is that Canson 140-pound watercolor paper. It's just a single panel. Then I will add this to a note card. But then everything on the front has the same paper color and style. So let's look at all of the different cards. Here's the one that we made together today. Here is that same frame panel, but I did the snowflakes a little bit differently. And this time I did add a white embossed background, but I think that adds to the design without being too busy. Now here's that elegant one that I talked about. This one I've done just a die cut on the front and I did not add a little critter. Same thing here. And I did some embossing on the background. There you can see where I used those elegant frames, those little pieces a little bit differently. Next, I pulled in our ribbon stackers to create that sort of central panel and that scene towards the center of the card. And this time I actually put my focal point image a little bit off of the edge. And then here is another following that same sketch, a little torn paper at the bottom. So I'll give you some still shots of each of these cards. Again, remember I will have that blog post linked below. So if you see one of these cards and you're like, oh, I really love this one, what is that die cut on the front of it, or where did that critter come from? Go to that blog post and you'll find everything there. It'll make it really easy to find everything. Right underneath the card photo is the exact penny black products used on it. So I would love to know, I showed a lot of cards today. Which one of these cards is your favorite? I think mine may be the one that's coming up at the very end. It has the ribbon stackers and I think it's the mouse going across. So I'll tell you when it comes up. It's the last one on here. That one ended up being my favorite because I just love popping in some of these super cute stamps. When I'm mass producing a lot of cards, here's my favorite right here. I just think it's really fun to add some whimsy. It will keep it fun for you as you're making lots of cards. So thanks so much for watching. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified when our next video comes up. And I wish you lots of happy stamping.